Look, we all make mistakes, right? That's just part of being human. It's totally unavoidable. But the real question is, what happens next? Because that moment, right after the mistake, that's where everything can change. The secret to growth, it turns out, isn't about not failing. It's about getting really, really good at how you respond.
You know that feeling the second you mess up, your gut just takes over. You either rush to fix it or maybe you get a little defensive, try to justify it. We all do it. But here's the thing, those instincts, they're usually a trap. They actually block us from learning anything. The real power, the game changer, is when you can just pause, take a breath, and consciously choose to go down a different road. Okay, so how do we actually do that? How do we make that intentional choice when our brain is screaming panic? Well, it all starts with a pretty simple, but honestly, a really powerful mental shift. We've got to totally reframe how we even think about our mistakes in the first place. And let's be real for a second. That sinking feeling in your stomach when you realize, oh no, I messed up. It's awful, right? It feels like this urgent problem, this fire you have to put out right now. Our first instinct is almost always just make it go away, fast. But what if you didn't? What if instead of seeing a problem that needs fixing, you saw it as information, like a piece of data, a valuable clue that's trying to tell you something really important about your process, or maybe an assumption you had that was wrong? All of a sudden, it's not a failure anymore. It's just feedback. And this, right here, is where it gets incredibly powerful. Because that information, that feedback, it isn't just something to analyze and forget. It's literally a compass. It gives you this super clear signal, pointing you in a new, better direction. So the mistake isn't a dead end anymore. It's a signpost, telling you exactly where to go next. Okay, I know what you might be thinking. This all sounds great in theory, but how do you actually do this when you're in the middle of that panic, in the heat of the moment? Well, here's a super simple, practical toolkit that you can start using like today. So this little checklist is all about one thing, forcing you to pause. So let's just walk through this together because this is really the heart of it. First question you ask yourself, am I observing or just reacting? In other words, am I just letting my instincts run wild or am I actually stopping to look at the facts of what happened? Okay, next, blame or learning. Where's my focus right now? Is it on figuring out whose fault it is, mine or someone else's, or is it on figuring out what I can learn here? One's a total dead end, the other is a doorway to growth. Third, speed or understanding. Am I just scrambling for a quick fix to make the problem go away, or am I taking a minute to actually understand the root cause? And last, and this is the big one, what will I do differently? This is where you turn all that reflection into a real, concrete action plan for the future.
Now, even if you have this great toolkit, there's this hidden obstacle, a little trap that can sabotage this whole process. It's a myth, one that most of us have been taught our whole lives. This idea that to grow, you have to be really, really tough on yourself.
So the myth says, beat yourself up. That's how you'll learn. But the reality, that kind of harsh self-criticism usually just shuts your brain down. It creates a mental block. True growth actually comes from a balance. You need that clear-eyed, honest analysis of what went wrong, for sure. But you have to combine it with a little self-compassion, giving yourself the space to learn without burying yourself in shame. And this quote just nails it. It's about accepting what didn't work. You're not denying it, you're not pretending it didn't happen, but you're also not amplifying it. You're not blowing it up into this huge catastrophe. It's about seeing it for exactly what it is. And that balanced view is what turns a simple error into a really powerful, useful experience. Okay, so this whole approach, it's not just for you as an individual. Think about the massive impact this can have when you apply it to teams or even entire companies. And you can really see the two paths here, right? On one side, you have a culture where everyone hides their mistakes because they're afraid. What happens? Well, nobody learns anything. The same bad decisions get made over and over, and there's this tension just simmering under the surface. But then, look at the other side. When mistakes are shared openly, everything gets better. Processes are improved, trust goes way up, and everybody starts to feel a sense of shared responsibility. It's really the difference between a team that's fragile and one that's truly resilient. All right, so let's just pull this all together. Learning from your mistakes isn't something that just happens automatically. It becomes real, actual growth when you make a few key choices. You choose to slow down instead of just reacting. You choose to observe instead of just blaming. And you choose to understand instead of just rushing for a quick fix. That is how you break the cycle of repeating mistakes and really start to evolve. So look, if there's one thing to take away from all this, it's this. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is not to live a life with zero mistakes, because that's just impossible. The real goal is to get so good at using your mistakes that they become the fuel for your growth. So I'm going to leave you with a challenge, a question to put this into practice right now. Think about a recent mistake. It can be big or small, doesn't matter. What is one thing you can look at again today, but this time, not as a problem you have to fix, but as a compass, pointing you toward where you need to go next?